If you're interested in learning to trade on Betfair, then visit the BetAngel Academy, where you have detailed structured Betfair trading courses. Or why not visit our website where you can download a free trial of BetAngel Professional, but also visit the forum where you can get detailed images, examples and downloadable files. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel and click on the bell icon if you want notification of new videos as they're released. So everybody's looking for clues as to where the price is going to go. We are looking at Oddschecker at the moment, and Oddschecker, you can see, lists all of the bookmakers. So I say all, most of them, whoever has paid to be on Oddschecker. And the advantage of that obviously is you can see the price that everybody's offering up for the current market. But generally speaking, you can see that the prices are pretty much the same across all of the markets. I'll go on to explain why in a second. But you can see on Oddschecker that you can see odds shortening here and odds drifting. So the blue is Dupont, whose price is basically coming in, it's being backed, and it's a lark, the price is going out. And that's been the predominant state for probably half an hour or so, I think, in this market. So let's examine a few things in here as well. So, okay, we can see that the price is shorting on Dupont. How does that reflect on the exchange market itself? Well, let's have a look. If I just move this out of the way, I've got the actual exchange market in front of me here. And if we actually look, I'm not going to look at the charts yet, but if we actually look at Dupont on the ladder, you can see immediately what we can, without looking at the chart, I can tell you what's going on within this particular market. So Dupont, you can see, is currently trading at around 4s. Which is no surprise because that's what it says on Oddschecker as well. And you can see that it's traded at a high of 5.7, but it's currently down here. It's at the low end of its traded range. It's near the bottom. So what do you think has happened to the price of Dupont? You can tell from the ladder and the way that the volume is sort of spread out, therefore that it must have been backed. If we look at the chart, we will probably get a confirmation that that is the case. So there you go. You can see initially, I'm just going to park that up here so we can focus on a few different runners. But you can see initially there was activity around 4, the price shot out to 5.5, and then it's gradually been backed in. So what you're seeing on Oddschecker is this being backed in period from here. I'm not sure what time period Oddschecker is over, but it's obviously probably since this morning. This volume over here and this activity was from the previous night. So you can see there's very little volume there, and there's plenty of volume here. So this volume over here says nothing to me. That doesn't say anything. But you can see that because we're getting closer and closer to the start of the race, then people are betting more and more on it, and that's exactly the sort of behavior and pattern that you would expect to see. The only reason I'm illustrating the lower volume over here is because this was probably last night, and therefore any price moves that take place during that period could just be somebody with £100. You can see, in fact, you can see the biggest bet was about 100, but at the moment it's about a 500. And as we get to the start of the race, that will obviously start to build from there. So we can tell that Dupont, by looking at the traded volume here, that must have been backed in so far today on where most of the money is, where most of the volume is. So what happens to It's a Lark in this particular market? So you can see It's a Lark at the moment is trading at around 4.55. It's traded at a low of 3.6, and most of the volume is here. So can you see the shape of the volume here, leading up to where the price is currently? So I expect that probably what we've seen with It's a Lark is that the price was lower and it drifted, or perhaps the price was around 4 and then it came in and then drifted out to here, may have gone a little bit higher before coming back in again. So I'm doing all of this without looking at the chart. And if we have a look at It's a Lark, okay, it's been on a fairly consistent drift. So it has actually seen some peaks here. So it started down here. The price has drifted out. There was a little peak around 4s, which would correlate to around this level here. You can see a bit of activity in the market around that level. It's gone out, come back in, gone out, come back in. So we can see that it's sort of gone like this. It's gone up here, stayed there for a bit, then it went up, and then it came back down, and then it went up, and then it came back down. So probably going to continue that trend. But if you want that trend to continue, then you'd need to see something else backed in. And if we look at Midnight Walk, you can see it's right at the bottom end of its current traded range. It's been at a bigger price, so midnight walk is being backed in. So you can see just by looking at the ladder, you can see what the chart is. When we first designed BetAngel, when I first started trading, we didn't have any charts. And I would visualize in my head what I've just described to you, and you can see how it's reflected on the chart. So let's have a look at take a break here. Can we see here that take a break has really not moved at all? It's pretty flat. So what do you think the chart's going to look like on take a break? Well, let's have a look. If you're not going to take a break, let's have a look at take a break. There you go. You can see that before when I asked that question, what's happened to the price take a break, you knew exactly what the chart was going to look like. It's an important skill within trading to be able to do this, because when you look at a ladder, that's what should pop up in your head immediately, and then you confirm it with the chart. If you look at the charts first, I much prefer to look at the ladder, look at the volume, and then plot the chart in my head, and then have a look at the chart to see if it confirms what I was thinking anyhow. But if we look back at Oddschecker again, you can see here that take a break. You can see they say that it's coming in, but we know that it isn't. All of the activity, even from last night on tiny volume to today when there's a little bit more volume, shows that it's pretty much flat. So I think that Oddschecker is misleading at best. And also, the first time I did this, I did it by accident. I went to go into a market, set the wrong stake, and accidentally sent the price crashing in. And to my surprise, guess what happened? When I looked at Oddschecker, lo and behold, Oddschecker said the price was coming in. So what that tells you is that the bookmakers follow the exchange prices. In the olden days, we're talking way back when we first started 20 years ago, bookmakers would set the prices and the exchange would follow them. But now it's the other way around. So I discovered it by accident. I accidentally put the wrong stake in the market, got myself in a right mess, and lo and behold, I suddenly saw the price on Oddschecker start to react. So I did a bit more testing, and sure enough, what you find, especially on low volume early in the morning, if you go into the exchange and you beat up a price, then you will change the price of the bookmakers. So you can tell that the bookmakers are following the exchange, and if there's a large position goes in on the exchange and the price starts to move, bookmakers get nervous and change their pricing, or their pricing teams do. But that tends to be, if you bet with an independent bookmaker, you'll probably find that they'll have an opinion on a race. Most of the corporations don't. They're just there to manage risk, and therefore they don't really take much of an opinion on the race. It's gone from people who knew a lot about racing to a bunch of number crunchers, really. If you look down here as well, I know some people will have a look at this little area down here, so you can see the most popular bets. So these are the most popular bets that have been placed through Oddschecker on this particular race. So you can see people have been betting on It's a Lark, Take a Break, Dew Pond, a variety of different horses here. So if you want to know what lies underneath these numbers here, if you view the page source, you can actually have a look for yourself. So if we look at Oddschecker and we look at the page source and then scroll down to this particular section here, you can actually see that Take a Break, they've had 60 bets, It's a Lark, they've had 112, Midnight Walk, they've had 53, Dew Pond, they've had 42. Now, so you can actually see the data that sits behind that. Now, if we flick back to the exchange, there are thousands of bets on the exchange. So which one do you think is going to be more accurate? Do you think Oddschecker with a couple of hundred bets is going to be more accurate than an exchange with thousands of them? So you can see there are £45,000 through this market. I guarantee you on Oddschecker and on the exchange, a lot of those will be £2, £5 and £10 bets, and the odd £100 bet, and perhaps the odd 50. But the exchange tells you everything that you need to know. I don't reference external sites. I don't really look at many other things. I'll have a casual glance around a couple of little areas to see what is going on within the market, and whether that, other special offers and stuff like that, that may generate a bit of activity. But if you actually look at the exchange tells you everything that you need to know. You don't need to go to external sites, and in fact if you do, then you may get a distorted view, because it's a reflection, an echo of what you see on the exchange. But also, the volume and the number of bets on the exchange are more representative of what you'll see on third-party sites, because most of the activity, especially on racing, is very low very early on, because you have no visibility of the horse or how it's behaving or anything like that. And as a consequence, you tend to find the markets with bookmakers are priced to reflect that level of uncertainty. They're not as accurate as you tend to get on the exchange. The exchange tends to be quite tight. And by tight, I mean these numbers up here are close to 100%. Whereas if we go back and look at Oddschecker, you probably find it isn't so tight. And certainly, if you go into a bookmaker shop, you'll find that the market is pretty loose overall. So yeah, if you want to have a look at what's going on with the market, I suggest you just stick on the exchange, because it will tell you a lot more information than pretty much any third-party site.